Hi there, welcome to this week's coaching tip. Today I want to talk about everything systems. You see, in order to be able to provide a consistent brand experience, it's really important that you've got great systems. And in order for you to be able to teach what you do, in other words, grow and put people on inside of your team, you need to think about what are the systems that you don't actually have. So what is a system? Well, a system is ultimately just a way of doing things that, if done on the same way each time, produces a relatively consistent result, and that you minimize the margin for error so you know exactly what it is that you're doing in the way you do the work. So what I want you to think about is that, is it a checklist? Is it a form? Is it a dialogue? Or is it a visual aid? Now let's have a bit of a look at that. You see, a checklist is really simple. There are two versions of a checklist. There is something that we actually call the read and review, and then there's the read and do checklist. And this is most often seen, say for example, in like a baking recipe. Let's say for example, the read and review. What are the ingredients that you need to do in order to make pancakes? So you're going to need milk, an egg, and some plain flour. So that's the read and review. Have I got all of the ingredients that I need? But then underneath that, there's the actual read and do checklist, which is sift the flour, crack the egg, add the milk, stir briskly, allow to sit for 20 minutes inside of a fridge before you go to making the pancake. Now you've actually done that read and do component, you've actually been able to make sure that all the right steps go in the right order. And if you don't follow those steps in the right order, let's say for example, you just put the egg and the flour together, stir that, and then put that in the pan, and then add the milk, then it's not actually going to work. And so what a lot of people don't really think about is that, is this a read and review? So in other words, these are all the things that we need to do to run a great open home. Or is it the read and do? So now this is exactly what you need to do. Open the front door, place down all of the items on the kitchen bench. So then you're really clear about the order at which things actually go in. After that, we then move specifically to think about, is it a form? Now the difference between a checklist and a form is that a form is a capture tool, and what it's designed to do is to actually record all the information that you need. Now a great example of this is, say, a market appraisal call. And when that market appraisal call comes in, a lot of people think that that's a checklist, whereas what I'm going to say, it's actually a form. And the reason why it's a form is that now you want to write down all of the things that you're gaining in terms of new information from the customer in order to be able to make that happen. The next thing to then think about is that then, is it a dialogue? Now what I mean by a dialogue is that, let's say for example that people are on the phones, we know that you make the most money in the last 10% of the phone call, because that's where you get the commitment, that's where you book the appointment, that's where you actually get the customer to agree to whatever it is that you're proposing, and that's actually where all the action happens. So that's where it's really important to start to think about, what dialogue do we now need to lay in, and hopefully there are prompters on that form that help that right dialogue to come out in the way that we work. Now I'm not saying that we need to be robotic, but I am saying that if we're not writing $1 million in fees, there are some proven dialogues that can really help to get you there a lot faster. The final one then to think about is then the visual aid. So what visual do I need to actually present here in order to make this particular message really clear? And that could be the use of headings, so then those headings actually allow the key things to be in the right order. Or it might also be about being able to show things in a way that actually make it compelling for the consumer. That might be, for example, a copy of, say, a brochure. And on that brochure, you talk about the number of inquiries, number of inspections, number of second appointments, number of contracts, number of offers, where the bidding started, where the bidding finished, the number of bids received by the number of bidders, and what particular marketing mediums those bidders actually used in their property search. The reason why that's critically important is that now you've got a great case study, and people actually learn from those case studies, and that is actually what helps you to be more influential. You see, at the end of the day, it's the person with the best story, that's the one that actually wins. And what you want to think about is that inside of your business, you want to create all of the systems, the forms, the checklists, the dialogue, and the visual aids that allow people to tell better stories more often, because that leads to better fees. Now, you don't have to go and do the whole thing from beginning to end. Just think that every single time that something goes a bit awry, is a little bit not right, isn't the way you wanted it, wasn't a great customer experience, think, hang on a sec, what could we do here to make this a better form, a better checklist, a better dialogue, or a better visual aid, so we can make it easier for the customer to make a decision in our favor. Well, I really hope you enjoyed today's coaching tip, and I look forward to seeing you next week.